it's time for a love song. And they don't get more heartwarming than this. It's a wang-dang Thursday. Ted Nugent is in the house, which means the house just got more festive. How you doing, my brother?
Sing it, brother.
Oh,
no.
No.
Is a love song. Mark Davis and all my blood brothers across the free land in the great Republic of Texas, a happy, glowing, happy 2015 to you all. And yes, Mark, I did not invent love, but I have perfected it.
That is, honed it to an art.
Yes, indeed.
I know, to the surprise of no one, I'm in the middle of talking about a lot of terrorism. Let me run something by you. You have a lot of history up in Detroit, and I'm sure you've been to Dearborn a couple of times, filled with a lot of our peace-loving, decent, wonderful Muslim brothers and sisters. And I pray for them and wish for them success in the civil war for their faith. And I know they need advice from the conservative Christian white talk show guy, but I think this is wisdom, and maybe my guitar slinging buddy will join me. The ones who love peace and love the law and love America must rise up and speak out and wrestle their faith from the hands of the evil hordes who kill people. Are you with me?
You think? I have this addiction to logic, truth, common sense, and certainly the evidence that flows throughout history. And I've got a current piece at WND.com, WorldNetDaily.com. I write a weekly Nuge blog there, as well as Newsmax and a bunch of other sites. But yes, I echo such common sense and truth and logic, but I think we're at a tipping point. Well, excuse me, we were at a tipping point a long time ago. What you're expressing, Mark, is common and sensible across this land, except in our beloved blood brother Muslim community. I smell Nuremberg 1937, 1938, and somebody's turning their back and denying the horrors. And until someone steps forward from the German community and identifies the SS and the brown shirts and the stink from Auschwitz, your silence equals guilt. Next subject, please.
Yeah, and it's easy to say, hard to do, but necessary to do.
But I got to tell you too. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm so gregarious. I didn't invent gregarious, but I have perfected it. I hang with everybody. I walk the streets of this not so mean nation. I did the greatest tour of my life, Shut Up and Jam 2014. I mean, literally the most intense, positive, glowing rock and roll rhythm and blues, dare I say, jihad of my life. And I hang out with people, including people that have, the turbans. I got buddies who I shoot at the range with that have a turban on, okay? So I am the tolerant, inclusive guy. But all my turban-wearing friends, they are on our side. They condemn and they despise the horrors of a so-called religion that okays honor killings. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, let's spend a moment on some of the other folks you've been hanging out with. You mentioned the Shut Up and Jam tour, and its last stop, I want to recall, was in Midland, Texas. And was this all it was a part of a fundraiser to construct a memorial for war on terror vets?
Yeah, I'm a lucky man. I think God might love me more than he loves you, Mark. I don't know.
The tally is early.
Just a minor observation. My point being is that not a day. Now, this sounds like hyperbole and outrageous claims, but unfortunately, or very, very fortunately, they're accurate and true. Not a day goes by in my life, 365, where I'm not contacted by the greatest human beings that ever walked this earth. I mean, soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines, for some reason they've zeroed in on the old goofball guitar player, I guess maybe listening to my interviews and standing up unapologetically for freedom and individual rights and choice. And I'm invited to every imaginable military charity, and of course I'm incapable of saying no, the great charity called Show of Support. in Midland, Texas, with Terry Johnson and the family. We extended the tour to raise money for a memorial for these heroes who have given so much and we owe so much to, along with Operation Finally Home, our own Freedom's Angels, the Canines for Warriors. You name a military charity that we have vetted to make sure that the donations go to the heroes and their families, and we're involved. And it's not just because I'm a greasy old guitar player, but I'm kind of a mega bullhorn that raises enough hell to get people to dig deep. I'll donate a bloody broken arrow, Mark. I mean, write this down. I'll donate a bloody Ted Nugent broken arrow that has found its way through the pump station of an unsuspecting herbivore at some point, donated the meat to the charity, donated a signed skull to raise money for a children's charity, and then the arrow will bring in thousands of dollars.
Of course
at a
it will.
fundraiser.
Of course it will.
Me?
Of course, I've seen you shoot one. Of course it will. Hey, on the Chapters of Ted's Life 2014, an additional chapter, you mentioned the tour, which put you in clubs and concert halls and venues all over America. Was there a day in summer this past year in a little town called Sjövisborg, Sweden, something called the Sweden Rock Festival, that put you in the company of our buddy Ozzy and our buddy Alice Cooper?
Absolutely. You know, again, there's that gregarious rock and roll dog in heat. I get to hang with every imaginable specimen in our species, and those guys certainly qualify as some of my favorites. And it was a big festival in Sweden where my mother was born, by the way. I mean, I got Swedish blood flowing through these rock and roll veins, and God knows they need me over there. And there is no words to describe the level of berserkness that Europeans display when I whip into stranglehold.
I can only imagine.
Because I think it's against the law for them to even think in those terms.
Oh,
and they
man.
see the essence of the freedom that they so crave. They want it so bad. And I didn't invent the middle finger, but I
did perfected it. And, of course, in Sweden, Wango Tango has that little slash through the O, the Wango Tango. All right, enough about that. So,
but hey, it's not an accent. I consider it a speech impediment.
Exactly
I
right.
love them still.
But let me check in with a couple of our buddies. First of all, I understand Ozzy is coherent.
Absolutely. In fact, I think our prayers have come to fruition. Ozzy is a great man. He's always been a great man. He was tragically brain dead for an extended period because of the substance abuse, but he has come back. He's a good man. He's a solid man. He's a huge fan of Ted Nugent's Spirit of the Wild because he wants to experience the mystical flight of the arrow, but he has some work ahead of him.
And I understand that our friend Alice Cooper, when he finishes what is still a very flamboyant stage show, if you let him, he will sit down with you and talk about the love of Christ for as long as you want to.
Absolutely. And again, you got to, a lot of people think the backstage maneuvers at a rock and roll event are just, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's just not true. I mean, it's a bunch of guys. There's a lot of imbibing going on, and I love my Werner's ginger ale. But we sit around and we talk politics, and they really probe old Uncle Ted because they don't dare debate me because they know I might do the Pierce Morgan boogie on their remains. And so they probe and they ask where I get my information. And, of course, I mention the word library and Google and just a level of awareness that absorbs information. And I got to tell you, there's no mean-spiritedness. I've never been yelled at or attacked because of my politics, which appear to go contrary to the rock and roll flow. There's nothing but a love fest. These are all my good friends.
I always tell people that in the multiple times I've been blessed to be backstage at a Ted Nugent show, hanging with you and Shemaine, that it's water, grilled meat, power bars, and NRA guys.
Yes, indeed. And every time, I'm telling you, since the 60s, I don't think I've ever, and I just did my 6,514th concert. I'm really amazed that I'm forming syllables. 6,514 concerts, and I'm telling you, at 6,514 concerts, I had heroes of the U.S. military backstage with me, hanging out, talking deer hunting, talking ballistics, just talking freedom and talking sacrifice. So that's one of the great reasons my shows and my bands are so inspired and energized every night, because we hang with these heroes of the military before and after the concerts, and we realize that freedom ain't free, and we better earn it.
Well, let me ask you something that I don't know if I've ever really spent time dwelling on this memory. The first time you and I were in the same room. and that would be the Capitol Center in Largo, Maryland in 1976, you opening for Black Sabbath on what was their Technical Ecstasy tour. And this had to be Ozzy at his height in terms of creativity and at his low point in terms of drugs. So was it weird with all these acts you were touring with in the 70s when everybody but you was high as a kite? Was there an odd backstage disconnect because Ted and his guys were grooving to a somewhat different vibe?
Well, may I quote the great philosopher? My two favorite philosophers, and I think you would agree, Dirty Harry, it's a good man who knows his limitations, and Al Capone, a man must have enthusiasms. Are you with me on that?
I'm with you on that.
Well, a lot of people go, Nugent's not one of us, man. He doesn't party. Well, I do party. I party beyond your wildest dreams with my enthusiasms and priorities, but I don't party with drugs or men. And the point being is...
you actually do, but not in that way.
The point being that there was no disconnect. I zeroed in on my priorities, and as a single man, I think we can create a column on the chalkboard. And I knew that everybody was stoned and drooling and incoherent, and it was hopeless to carry on a meaningful conversation with anybody. So I did what I did. I rocked my balls off every night, and my band and I worked up some sweat and piss and vinegar and blood beyond your wildest, little Richard James Brown dreams. And then I went off on my own, and I just didn't imbibe in the mind and spirit-destroying chemical warfare that was so prevalent back then.
All right, last couple of things. Ted on TV, Spirit of the Wild is on the Outdoor Channel right now. What kind of things are filling those episodes?
Oh, God, here's this God loves me more thing happening again. What an incredible hunting season that I still have 6 weeks of deer hunting here in Texas. I've had the greatest hunting season of my life. My wife, Shemaine, is just an absolute slayer. My son Toby and my son Fleetwood are all going to be on our show. We have Sarah Palin and Todd Palin as special guests on our Spirit of the Wild show on Outdoor Channel, and we're joining Sarah and her team on her Amazing America on Sportsman's Channel. And at this time, I'd like to say a very special get well and prayers are with my buddy Brian Kwok, a pig man from Sportsman's Channel. He's a Texas boy.
What happened to him?
And he had a terrible car wreck in Colorado last month, and he's recuperating, and all of our blood brothers, all our hunting and Second Amendment blood brothers pray for the great Brian Kwok, a pig man, and his family. And DAP, too. They're great people, and they had a terrible accident. I think he's going to be okay.
Look for Ted Nugent, Spirit of the Wild, on the Outdoor Channel, Tuesdays, 2:30 our time, 7:30 our time, Sundays, 11 our time. And Ted and Shemaine serve up some Texas hospitality as they host Sarah and Todd Palin at the Spirit Wild Ranch on Sarah's show, Amazing America with Sarah Palin, and that will air January 29th at 8 p.m. our time on the Sportsman Channel. Well, it just sounds like there just aren't enough blessings going on for you, so let us press on and seek more, and one of the blessings I know I will enjoy is chatting with you every once in a while. Because, again, flashing back to I'm 18 years old, watching you, go through Stranglehold and everything. I guess, well, this was right after Free for All, I guess, for you. And now we're talking every few months. I still cannot believe that, and I'm so blessed and so honored that you're my friend.
Well, Mark Davis, right back at you, and I want to thank everybody for joining me on Facebook. We had 28 million here recently when I dared to state the truth about Ferguson and other political clusters out there. But go to Facebook. We donate and auction off a bunch of items for the military and children's charities on my Facebook page, and it's a great communication to inspire people to take this country back from the enemies within.
TedNugent.com for all the info you need, and Ted on the show every once in a while. God bless, man. Best to the family, and happy winter.
Mark Davis, Godspeed.
Take care. That's